You can
It's the
just
best way to do
see
it.
his head. Look at this. I mean, he's just following this beer. Okay.
Stopped following it immediately as you said
Yeah, the
that.
second I call it, it's like friggin' uncertainty principle in physics. Like the second you observe this cat doing what I say, he stops doing it.
Yeah, he's over it.
Yeah, he's not about it. He's like, screw you.
Hey, can you hear any background noise? I feel like I
No,
ask this after we start recording
no,
every time.
I
So,
can't hear any background noise right now.
all right, that's good.
So you're
That's good.
good. If there's
All right.
background noise in the background, then you deal with it, Gavin. Not the audience. We'll fix it
Yeah,
for the
you can
audience.
hear me typing now as I'm putting
Mm-hmm.
up the "We Are Live."
Oh
That's
boy, can I!
the
I can
huge.
absolutely hear you typing right now.
Okay. Um, how are you?
I'm good.
Should we do some?
I would be better if I didn't have this cat sitting directly in front of my microphone.
Why? You don't love your cat? Are you a
I
cat hater?
I appreciate my cat. I do not appreciate my cat sitting in front of the microphone because he is invariably going to rub his face on, as he's doing right now,
Yeah.
rub his
Yeah.
face on it, and he's gonna
That's
walk
fair.
past it, and then he's gonna like rub his body on it, and he's gonna like stick his face where my beer is, and he's gonna be like, "What's this?"
Oh, what's going on?
Yeah, he's really interested in your orange shirt though. He's like laser focused on you.
I was gonna call out something about this orange shirt.
Yeah.
This is history. You are watching live history. I've never worn this shirt.
I've never worn this shirt on the recordings either. So,
No. I've never worn this shirt. I've
oh,
I've had
your
this I've had this jersey for like 4 years.
did Mariah buy it for you?
No, I bought it for $10 off somebody on Twitter.
Dang.
They were
What is
selling
it? Like a
jerseys and I
goalkeeper
bought
shirt?
them. It's just a goalkeeper jersey, yeah.
Yeah, it looks
No
like one.
names on it. It's just a standard jersey.
Yeah,
Probably cost them like
crazy.
$80 or something.
Hard to say. You never know.
Cost me 10.
Look,
They're
kits
doing
used
like
to
a
be affordable.
virtual yard sale or something. Very affordable. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not so
So
much anymore though.
history in the making.
It's history in the present right now. It's the present in
Mm-hmm.
making.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
So, as my cat twitches his ear every time that I start talking, and it's like if you don't like me talking, you can just leave from the desk. You don't have to be sitting directly here in front of everything. Like this is a
When I
choice you have made.
when I was a kid, I used to not even when I was a kid, when I was like even like a young adult or maybe like 17, 18, um I used to think that animals could, you know how animals have great hearing?
Right.
I always wondered, like, do they also hear like normal sounds louder? So like if I'm listening to music in the car at my like normal rate, do they hear it like 8 times louder? And am I giving my animals a headache?
I would
Or are they
imagine, Gavin, that we're giving our animals a headache every single day, anyways, regardless of whether or not there's music on. Just coexisting with us gives them a headache.
yes, but you see what I mean? Like me playing music at my normal rate, does that give them a headache? Is it like way too loud for them? And are they just hearing like, "Brrr," or are they hearing it at the same rate I'm hearing it at, but they can pick up on lower frequencies? I don't know. I
That
used to
sounds
think
like
about that a lot.
an excellent question for a veterinarian or animal scientist.
Google, that's who I'll
Yeah,
ask.
or Google. Get your Google University degree.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's just us
Well,
two, it looks like.
yeah, looks like it.
So let's get started.
Shall we get started, Kevin? Should I cue the music?
Cue the music, my friend. Let's get into
Oh,
it.
hold on, I kind of navigate around this cat. He's ruining everything.
All right.
Hello, hello, Gavin, listeners. Welcome back to the MLS Now podcast. I'm your host, Russell. You can find me on social media at Mr. Danger Russ. You can find Gavin on social media at Lions Blog One. You can find the podcast on social media at MLS Now Podcast. You can find my cat, who is rubbing his face on this microphone as we speak, also on my social media at Mr. Dangerous. We should make him his own social media, though, because he would be far more successful at social media than I am, just by the nature of the fact that he's a cat. It's unbelievable. It's like cheats for real life. Is be a cat, immediate social media success. With that said, Gavin, you also have a cat. Concur? Disagree? Thoughts? Opinions?
Plenty of opinions on cats. Man, I've got my situationship with the cats.
You got
I think
cats.
I've got cats. Yeah, I've got 2 indoor cats and easily feed 10 to 15 outdoor cats every day. Yeah. So we're the crazy cat people.
Right. I don't know if easily feed is the terminology that I would use for the record.
The term herding cats, that phrase, it's like herding cats. Yeah, that tracks. That is accurate. Turn of phrase. Yep. It's
Excellent. Well, Gavin, I'm glad that we could herd you and I onto this call. But hey, first, Gavin, where would we be without our tradition? Drink check for today. I've got an oatmeal stout. What are you drinking?
Sam Adams Cold Snap.
Mm.
I'm feeling kind of cold, kind of chilly. Not me personally, but my Northern American friends, Northern in North America, I should say. I know there's some winter storms going on up there. How you faring in Ohio?
70 degrees today.
Okay. So in Minnesota, a lot of my coworkers were complaining because it dropped a foot of snow on them this weekend.
Well, that'll happen. That is a side effect, I would assume, of living in the very northern states, of which Ohio is. I guess technically it's a very northern state because north of us is Canada.
Yeah, that's why I figured you guys would be dealing with some cold, but guess not.
Yeah. Well, you guessed
It's
incorrect, Gavin.
It's 70 here in Florida, so we are
Wow.
aligned.
Ohio and Florida, seeing eye to eye on weather, unbelievable. It was beautiful today, though. I mean, first nice day in like a solid 10 days. So I'll tell you this.
Nice.
This background picture I'm using of a beautiful sunny day at TQL Stadium, it didn't look like that when I was there this weekend. And it was a lot colder than when I took this picture.
Didn't look like that in a couple of different stadiums either across the Northeast. For sure.
No. Well, either way, Gavin, I think the important thing, though, is for you and I, beautiful weather today. Let's live in the moment.
Yeah. I put some cat emojis in the chat to live in the moment.
There we go. I appreciate it.
We had a cat.
Hey, I want to live in the moment a little bit more. Before we get into the big story, Gavin, I have 2 different options for you just to kick things off today. Would you like to do a little bit of a challenge, or alternatively, we can laugh a little and make some jokes inadvertently or intentionally?
Can we do both and I can choose which one to do first, or no?
You could potentially do both if you so chose. One of them is very quick. The challenge is quick.
Okay, give me the challenge. That's the way I was leaning anyways.
All right, cool. Name all 29 MLS teams. Without looking. Yep.
Without looking.
And actually, hold on. I would like to time you to see how quick you can do this.
Where did you come up with this?
All right. Are you ready, Gavin? You're on the clock starting now. Go.
Okay, Austin FC, Atlanta United, Toronto, because they just played Atlanta United. Charlotte FC, Columbus Crew, DC United, Colorado Rapids, Seattle Sounders, Real Salt Lake, Vancouver Whitecaps. Oh my gosh, this is hard. Orlando City, FC Cincinnati, NYCFC, New York Red Bulls, New England Revolution, Inter Miami. You're going to get me with someone. Chicago. Did I already say the Revs? I think I did say Revolution. Yep.
I think you did. I should be checking these off as you go, but I'm just trusting that you're. Yeah. I'm counting them for you. You're on 17.
San Jose, LAFC, LA Galaxy.
That's 20.
The Texas teams, Austin. I already said Austin because I started with A. FC Dallas and Houston Dynamo. I already said Atlanta. Nashville SC. I already said Charlotte. I already said DC, right? I already said DC. I think I already said DC.
Think so.
Oh, this is getting difficult now.
It's 23.
Yeah, that's 23. Wow, I'm
Yeah.
already up there. Okay. Sporting Kansas City, St. Louis City SC. I already said New York. I said Chicago. Vancouver, Montreal, CFMTL. That's oh my gosh, this is getting hard.
It's getting hard.
Portland Timbers.
It's 27.
27. Minnesota United.
I was
28.
shocked that you didn't say that one first, given we were just talking about it.
Oh my gosh, I know.
I'm helping you tread water here while you think by filling the air for you.
There's one more. LAFC Galaxy. It's not. You're not counting San Diego, right?
San Diego will be number 30.
30. Okay, no, yeah, 29. I said
If
Orlando City.
Yeah, you did say Orlando City.
I said the Cascadian teams. Northeast. I feel like am I missing someone Northeast? New England, New York Red Bulls, New York City FC. I said all of them. Columbus Crew, Charlotte.
I feel like it's a Western Conference team you're forgetting.
I feel like it is a Western Conference team.
Potentially
you know
one. Potentially one in like the middle of a desert. Did you say Real Salt Lake?
I thought I did.
Oh, okay. Well, Gavin.
Well, maybe not. Maybe not. It must have been RSL. It must have been RSL.
Well, I'm not going to fact check you on it. I'm sure our listeners will. It took you roughly 3 minutes, though.
Okay.
A little bit less. By the time that I said I was cutting you off, it was like 2 minutes, 52 seconds.
That was good.
Yeah, relatively quick. Challenging.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of them, aren't there?
There are a lot of them. Is that the point you're trying to make?
No, I mean, I just thought it'd be fun to see if you could, how many teams we talk about week in, week out, even we can't like rifle them off in like 60 seconds.
Right, yeah. I thought that's where you were going with that, and I guess that is where you were going with that. It was RSL. That was the team I didn't name. Now that I think about it. Yeah.
Hey,
I was
good job
thinking about that today, actually, while I was preparing. Because I started preparing for the episode around 4:00-ish, and
4:00 a.m. Sunday, of course. I'm sure is what you're trying to say.
Of course. No, 4 p.m. Eastern time, and it was like 4:50, and I was still going, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's just so much stuff to cover. So I was thinking about that today.
Well, you're not wrong. A lot went on. It is hard to cover 14 matches, and we're going to be covering 15 starting next year. So
we're going to need a third co-host.
Yeah, wow.
5, 5, and 5.
We'll see about that. I don't know. Gavin, maybe you should do some more solo episodes. See if you can do 15 matches alone.
I've done like 13 alone before, and man, that was brutal.
That's a haul.
I was tired by the end of that, yeah.
All right, well, hey, I'm going to throw some fun stuff your way then, the other alternative option. If you could think of like some restaurants, right? Like chain restaurants, and you could liken them to MLS teams, what are some restaurants you'd pick, and like what MLS teams would you compare them to? My go-to would be like New York Red Bulls. I think of as McDonald's because it's like kind of not that good in the US, but elsewhere around the world it's like shockingly better, but it's still recognizable no matter where you are.
Dude, I don't know where or how you come up with these, but like this is not a question for me to answer.
What do you okay,
what about like you to answer?
What about like Arby's, Gavin?
Arby's?
Arby's,
I wouldn't even know who to associate Arby's with.
Okay, would you Olive Garden has to go to someone, right? Like would you say Olive Garden is NYCFC or would you say it's Toronto?
Olive Garden makes me think of Italian, so Toronto is where I was going there. Giovinco, Insigne, yada yada.
Right.
Arby's.
It doesn't have
we have the meat. So who's got some meaty boys on their team?
I mean, right now FC Cincinnati has a meaty defense, but
I was thinking Nashville.
Nashville is like, I don't know. I feel like Nashville's. I don't want to say. I don't think Nashville's Arby's.
Okay,
Let me put it that way.
Okay, Cincinnati's Arby's. Okay. I don't know
I
where
mean,
you're
but I
going
feel
with
like
this stuff.
Cincinnati has to be Skyline, like because of they're known for
Skyline chili.
Skyline, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's unique. Most people don't like it, right? Most people either don't like it or just assume that they're not going to like it without ever really trying it. And I feel like that's Cincinnati. It's like if you're about it, you're really about it.
Gotcha. I agree with that. I'm
That's
thinking of
me
like
forcing Skyline.
In-N-Out Burger. I'm trying to think of a team who's always like in and out of the playoffs. Maybe like Vancouver.
No, I would
They
think
make
of
the
like
playoffs and they're out.
I mean that's true. You're probably right about that. What about like Applebee's? I feel like if I'm gonna take Applebee's, like what do we
New
think
York City?
Applebee's? No, I
The
don't.
Big
I don't know.
Apple. Come on.
Maybe I don't know. Like, because I'm thinking, how do you describe Applebee's? It's like consistent. It's kind of meh. Maybe you're right. That is New York City FC, isn't it? They're very meh and they're consistently meh. There's not much special about them, but like you're aware of it. And if you have nothing better to do, you would go to there. You're right, Gavin. You're inadvertently right without any thought.
And they're usually very small, usually packed in there.
Right.
Usually, they're
It's
not
cozy.
like really big booths.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
You
yeah.
nailed it. You nailed it.
All right. That's all I've got for that one. I'm not.
That's
good
all
at
you've
that
got.
Stuff.
All right. That's
Sorry.
okay. We'll come up with even more of them in the future. If you want
There you
to
go.
throw some more restaurants our way, listeners, or anyone who's in YouTube, and you want to see us draw a comparison to an MLS team, feel free. I don't want to put Gavin on the spot here forever, though. As fun as that is.
I don't know where you come up with this stuff. Like I said,
What can I say? I got an active imagination.
clearly. Shall we
All
get
right.
to the games or
No,
the game?
Gavin.
The
Of
game.
course not the game, Gavin. That would be absurd. I want to get into the title of the stream. We've called this one the tipping point, Gavin.
Well,
Maybe.
actually, we called it tipping point.
Well,
not
okay.
the tipping point.
Well, I'm maybe it rubs off on me because I live in Ohio. I just put the in front of everything. The tipping point.
Whatever.
Not
go
even
ahead.
an Ohio State fan. Just from Ohio.
Well, anyways, we called it tipping point. Go ahead with your intro.
I forgot what it
cut
was.
You off.
Sorry, what did we call this episode again?
Tipping point.
Ah, yes, where we give tips to each other on sports betting, right? I'm sure.
Don't listen to our tips. We're 0
that's
for
a
5
great
right
tip.
now.
Horrific record on sports. It's hilarious because we're still making money on other bets. It's just the one that we lock in just never comes true, ever.
This week's the week, man. This week's the week.
It might be the week. I don't know. We'll see. No, okay, so we called this tipping point. Gavin, you and I had a good discussion about this earlier today around like lunchtime. And so this past weekend, just as a general rule, or maybe as a general thought, it felt like refereeing got to a tipping point where we start to like segment teams. Are they good? Are they bad? It's getting to a tipping point. Like I'm ready to start committing to those. Are there players that I'm outright worried about at this point? Where if they're either not performing at all, it's like, ooh, this isn't looking good for them. It can get there. There's a lot of injuries coming as well, Gavin. With tons of injuries. I feel like we're averaging almost one injury per match across this past weekend. It could just be because I'm paying more attention to it and there's some confirmation bias there. But again, tons of injuries, which maybe that ties into refereeing. Point being, I feel like so many conversations I'm ready to start taking really firm positions on. So, tipping point.
This week wasn't the week for me to make some firm positions. Just because of international break.
So this is the tipping point between our podcast relationship.
Yes.
You and I disagreeing on which week in a sport of a whole bunch of guys kicking a ball around that neither of us have any real stake in.
I once heard that a good sample size for soccer games and data and figuring out if a team is realistically good or not is around 8 to 9 games. That's like a that's like a solid sample size, takes out too much variance, positive or negative. And that can, if you look at 8 to 9 game blocks, you can really tell where the team is headed. And if they're consistently looking good, then they're probably a good team, even, underlying numbers wise, even if results aren't going their way. And so I'm going to wait till about week 8. I'm already obviously starting to form opinions, and you'll see that in some of my analysis today, but it's hard for me with the international right now, the international break.
I guess that's fair. Maybe if this was a non-international break, would you feel more confident in taking a position?
Yeah, CONCACAF Champions Cup slowed down these past few weeks for many teams in the league. And if it wasn't for international break, we'd have a lot more full strength lineups out there. But like, for example, I had in my mind Atlanta as a lock to beat Toronto. And Atlanta went up with a very rotated lineup. They were without a lot of their key players up top and in the back, and that showed in their performance. So
I have to say,
I can't make a definitive judgment on Atlanta based off of that performance.
It only just now clicked in my mind that you said Atlanta was a lock, because I 100% had Toronto going into this weekend.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about international break. Okay, but a full strength Atlanta versus a full strength Toronto, I have Atlanta as a lock.
Toronto are unbelievable this season so far. This was their 4th clean sheet in 5 matches, Gavin.
They were really good against this Atlanta team. Like if we're going straight into the game, I don't know.
But, well, I don't know. Look, I'm not ready to go straight into that game yet, Gavin. Okay. I thought you still wanted to talk about the game. You're taking me everywhere.
I know. I'm sorry. It's the tipping it was just point, an example, Gavin. And I'm diving in. I'm all over.
Sending me over the edge.
But look, I already made my point. So let's continue.
You disagree. I personally, Gavin, have always heard that a sample size of 1 is the best possible sample size. So, I mean, really, if anything, I'm being generous with a sample size of 5.
Whoever is advising you on that sample size, they are bad advisors.
I will have you know, Gavin, that I'm a very large fan of statistics and extrapolating from incomplete data. And the more incomplete that data is, the more fun I have extrapolating it.
And the more you get paid.
Well, I don't know about that. If you're extrapolating from a sample size of 1, you're probably not getting paid at all.
Fair.
All right, Gavin. Yes, so 2, I guess, big storylines, right? Refereeing is becoming a conversation again. News coming out this Monday morning on social media that there is a tentative agreement between the Professional Soccer Referees Association and Pro that they might be voting on something. I haven't seen the results of that vote yet. I don't know if there's been any leaks as far as which way they think it's going to go, whether it's approved, not approved. But certainly at this point, I think we're starting to notice refereeing become an issue again. And not just a small issue, but I mean, there are significant amounts of outrage at a much more consistent level and much more league-wide than prior year at this point, where there's always some ridiculous match that had controversy, but it was like a one-off, right? Like it was one match a week had some pretty bad calls. Maybe sometimes you had 2 or 3. We've now had some consistent weeks of multiple matches having pretty blatantly bad calls. And it's not just like a one-off, it's multiple bad calls in the same match. So not a great thing that that's becoming a conversation again.
Yeah. So this, I don't want to say this was always bound to happen, but replacement referees, right? For the most part, they've been okay. I think I would give them like a B, right? Overall, a B. There's been a lot of games without controversy that I've watched and have been reffed really well, have been reffed to a good standard for the most part. But then there's those outliers, which we're seeing a little bit more consistently. So how much are they outliers? And it's starting to show some cracks in the using replacement referees theory as something that is viable long term. Uh, we had again another week of multiple games with some controversies that impacted results. Many would say impacted fan entertainment of watching the games,
Impacted
and
player
so
health.
impacted player health. Yep. So for sure, it's starting to become more and more of a problem, more and more of a talking point, and that's what MLS doesn't want, right? MLS has been trying to avoid it. I mean, there was a picture out today of Matt Doyle's column. He didn't mention referees in the Charlotte Columbus game at all. You put two and two together. He works for MLS. That game had the absolutely the most controversy out of most of the games this season, and even the big Chicago win last season had a lot of controversy. So it's it's not looking good. We obviously would have preferred to start the season with our normal guys. How much better are they? They're a little bit more consistently better. They're probably like a B plus, whereas maybe I lean more towards like a B minus with the replacement refs, and we're starting to see more of those games consistently.
Yeah,
Where
and
we're having problems.
I think Gavin, on like an average basis, the B plus B minus is a good comparison. I think when the normal guys have a howler of a match, it's not an F or like an F minus,
I mean,
right?
I disagree with that. I disagree with that. We have seen some bad refereeing displays in the league. Horrible. I'm talking ghost penalties, ghost goals, the throw-ins being called off sides, like things like that. Like there's always going to be those outliers where it's just terrible, terrible from the people at the top. But they're humans. They're going to make mistakes. It's okay.
Yeah,
But it's go
I
ahead.
think with VAR, if a ghost penalty or a ghost goal or ghost offsides materially changes the match, that's probably a failure across the board on the whole refereeing team, not just the center official. I'm thinking more from just the stance of game management. I think
Yes.
the lowest game management quality of the normal guys is still better than the lowest game management quality of the replacements by a decent margin.
Yeah, I agree. Game management wise, yep. Not just. I was thinking calls like the
Right.
moment.
Yeah, I
But
look, those critical horrible calls, that's why VAR exists. That should be rectified. That's a failure in the system. Look, because people are gonna make mistakes, right? That's why VAR should exist, is to remedy horrific errors like that. So I try to pull those out because that's a failure across the board if that gets
agreed.
through.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, just it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be very interesting to see the coming days, weeks on the refereeing front. Other side of it, Gavin, you wanted to talk briefly about the U.S. men's national team. Just briefly. I emphasize briefly, Gavin. Thoughts, comments, concerns, question marks? Are you Berhalter in, Berhalter out? There's a right
Berhalter in,
answer.
Berhalter out.
There's a right
The
answer.
age-old debate.
Not a debate.
I've been going back and forth on this a lot recently.
Tipping point, Gavin.
Obviously, we won yet another trophy last night. Great performance from the players. They worked their socks off. The margins went their way. Scored a couple bangers. We're feeling good. So instantly, you're thinking Berhalter in. But then you go back to the Jamaica match. Berhalter out. That was a terrible performance against a team we should be better than. But we powered through somehow, some way. We got through. Think of the World Cup performance. I mean, it is really on a knife's edge. You listen to the players. There's so many pros and cons here. And I don't really fall into a camp. I guess if I fall into a camp, it's Berhalter in barely. Like that's the way I'm leaning. Because I think I think of
I can already
what
feel
are the
Twitter
options?
getting upset at you.
Like what are what are the other options? Right now, we're doing good. I think we're doing good as a country. We made the World Cup. We're hosting the next World Cup. I don't think he's going to take us to the final of the World Cup, but I don't think these players could take us to the final of the next World Cup. You know? And so that's where I'm like, where he's at, I think we could max out at like a quarterfinal run. Quarter or semifinal, and we're really riding momentum hard, but I don't think these players can get to a final.
I think of 2002, where you had a better performance from the players than maybe what your talent comparisons would be. And to me, that says coaching is good coaching makes your players more than the sum of your parts. And right now, we need players to have, like Tyler Adams, moments of absolute individual brilliance, heroism, a worldy of a goal. Like, you can't reproduce that Tyler Adams goal at will. That's not happening in every single match. That might not ever happen again for Tyler Adams in international competition.
Right.
So that tells me if that's the way you're winning, is those moments of brilliance, that's poor coaching.
Look, I'm not saying he's the best coach in the world, right? Like he has
No
flaws.
one's saying he's the best
Yeah.
coach in the world.
And I will agree that also with my own take. We looked really good under those 2 games under BJ Callahan. Like we looked really good. I don't know if that was BJ Callahan coaching. I've heard people say that was Berhalter, running the show behind the scenes. But I guess like for stability's sake, I lean towards keep Berhalter until we find the right next candidate. And I don't know who that is. I don't know if USSF knows who that is. I don't know if they're looking. They probably aren't, considering they just gave Berhalter a new contract. But in terms of results, I think he's succeeding right now. Not on performances, and as a club teams should look at performances more than results. But I'll pose this question to you: should international teams look at performances over results, or should they look at results over performances?
Results. Why are we competing in the World Cup if we're going there saying we're not going to win? Success for us is going to the quarterfinals. That's a cop out.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. I think on results, Berhalter has merit to stay. What?
But we just said that Berhalter is not a guy that is results wise ever going to get you past like quarterfinals.
Yes. But if you look at his history of results, he has gotten us back to the World Cup. He has gotten us to the round of 16 in the World Cup. He got out of the group stage by hook or by crook. He's gotten us wins over Mexico consistently, our biggest rivals. He's
the only top-ranked team that we are beating is Mexico, Gavin. We're losing to every other good team.
We do not play good teams very often. That's the problem.
And when we play them, we lose.
We played England and we tied them.
Okay. Is a tie a win?
No. It's a draw. We outperformed them. But 0-0. Correct. So, anyways, I'm leaning towards Berhalter in for now. And you know what? I'm actually really happy that we're in Copa America, because if he has a stinker in Copa America, I think he's going to go. And I think that'll be fair. And then we'll bring someone else in and they will gear us up for World Cup 2026. So I think we're at a good spot right now. But if he does well in Copa America, I think he will keep his spot and lead us to World Cup 2026, where unless he, becomes Pep Guardiola in the flesh,
he's got the hair for it.
I don't see us winning that tournament. So for now, I'm Berhalter can stay.
I regardless of my thoughts about Berhalter in or out, think your assessment about do or die Copa America is probably the correct assessment of if Berhalter stays for World Cup or not.
I
If you
hope
get
that's the way
bounced
we're looking at
early,
it.
he's gone.
And the fans won't accept it anymore. If he gets bounced early, fans won't be here for it. No matter how much the players are here for it, I mean, there'll be a lot of controversy keeping him around heading into a home World Cup.
Yep. All right, Gavin, I think now officially we can talk about things such as the matches of the last week, of which there are
35
many to
minutes
talk about.
later.
Yeah, 35 minutes later. Well, hey, we chatted a little bit ahead of the actual show.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point.
This is the personal record for us for doing anything other than talking about soccer, though.
Yeah. We'll fly through some of these matches. So
we will fly through some of these matches. Hey, let's fly through this one. New York 4, Miami 0. Lewis Morgan hat trick. Dante Van Zier 4 assists.
Insane performance from the two of them.
Miami looked like they could not have wanted to be off that field any more than they did.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a scrappy game when you saw the rain and you saw the lineups and you saw them getting ready and you're like, ooh, it's going to be a scrappy, close game. We'll see who comes out on top. And like you said, Inter Miami didn't look like they wanted to be there. So it was not as scrappy and close as you'd think. And Inter Miami definitely didn't show up for this one.
No, they didn't show up at all. I mean, Lewis Morgan had a very, very hot season in the past. I think it was 2 seasons ago, I say, with great uncertainty. Trying to remember the last time that Lewis Morgan...
Red Bulls.
Yeah, I remember he carried my fantasy team that year. And it was him, and I think it was also Rusnak and Krylock. And it's like that 3 players just like... I put them there and I left the team alone.
And you won the championship. He's been struggling with injury, so that's why we haven't heard a lot from him recently.
Yeah.
But it seems him running off of Van Zier seems to be a strategy that worked well this match, and it'll be interesting to see if it works well in the future. And hopefully he can stay fit.
Yeah, that's the big question for me is how reproducible is this game? So one to keep an eye on. Miami will want to forget this. Yeah.
Hopefully not too reproducible. They're playing Orlando next week.
I hope they reproduce it. Just next week, though.
We don't need another 4-0. All right. Next is, I see you're drinking, so I'll take the reins here. New England 1, Chicago 1. Another game heavily impacted by weather. Did you have any takes on this match?
It was heavily impacted by weather. This is a top 3 poor referee performance for me of the week. There were some bad performances this week. This cracks the top 3. You can probably guess the other 2, and we're about to talk about them basically in order of these next matches.
When you said game management, this is exactly what my mind went to. I mean, at the end of the match, he literally called the last play of the game. If you go and watch it, is a massive challenge between 2 players. And you can see they were just going in for the foul and not for the ball. And the ref was just like, I'm calling this game. We're not playing anymore. He didn't even bother calling the foul when, it shouldn't have even gotten to that point. Very chippy game. Very chippy game. We do have a correspondent corner for this one. Timothy Holtz says, Fire once again snatch a draw from the mouth of victory, this time in New England. Which is it's a theme for Chicago to, be on top and not be able to fulfill the game. But this time it happened at the end of the first half. So I'm surprised he worded it like that. But okay, so he says, snatch a draw from the mouth of victory, this time in New England. Also, if the announced attendance of nearly 15,000 at a Gillette Stadium that felt empty is true, then I'm tall enough to play power forward in the NBA. So it's funny from Tim.
I don't know how tall Tim is, for the record. I've never seen him standing up, so I am just going to assume that he is tall enough to play in the NBA.
Well,
Based on the law of averages. I'm extrapolating from incomplete data here.
Based on his answer there, I'm going to assume he's not even close to tall enough because there's no way that stadium had 15,000 people in it. Although, unless they're all in the, in concourse, it was rainy, but.
Or they're in the clubs.
Yeah, I doubt it. Yeah, so 1-1. It's just another MLS game. Not much to add there.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot either. This was a rough one to watch, I'm going to be honest. I rewatched a lot of matches. This is one that I didn't enjoy rewatching, just straight up.
Oh, I wish you would have asked me. I saw, 70% of this game, and it was boring. I would have told you not to watch it.
Yeah, well. Hey, Gavin, maybe I'll say this. Would you say that you would want to watch Charlotte versus Columbus?
Charlotte versus Columbus.
2-0
win. I
win.
want to watch that.
Yeah, 2-0 win for Charlotte. This one, I think, killed both of us on our bets as well. I think Columbus versus Charlotte, we both picked Columbus, and this one destroyed us.
No, not me.
This one destroyed me then.
Mm-hmm. On our the versus one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was Vancouver for me.
See. This mistake number one is betting on Vancouver when I don't bet on Vancouver.
Fair enough. Don't bet on teams that you love.
Yeah. So here's my thing, Gavin. I put this match also in my top 3 for poor reffing performances of the week. And
it ain't number 2.
And it's not number 2. That is correct. Again, it comes down to game management for me. I mean, this is... You have, 2 players that are going off injured already for Columbus, and this is in the first 25 minutes. And then a red card from a pretty... I can see how it's a red card. It's the, harshest possible punishment for something that player is not... It's not even, I wouldn't say intentionally reckless or dangerous play. This is just an unfortunate, he comes in late.
Yeah, that's a ref that, in that moment, that ref, I think, was leaning too heavily towards the studs being up. And I hate when refs do that. I hate so much when refs focus on studs versus ankle down. If the ref ever played the sport, he would know it's not even really a yellow card. It's a foul and you move on. It's an unfortunate play. This weekend, I'm playing soccer this past weekend, and I go
you
up
go
for a
studs
header.
Up every match.
Yes, I go up for a header and I land on the dude's ankle, and I feel really bad about it, but it's not a foul. My studs went into his ankle. But
who feels worse,
foul.
You or him?
I feel bad because it was on accident. I wasn't even trying to make a challenge. He just landed before me, and I landed on top of him.
All right, so you feel worse than the person who you went into on.
I didn't say that. I said I feel bad. I was going to say he feels worse because I studded into his ankle. So, it's just one of those moments that happens, and it's unfortunate. No way is it a red card. Really poor refereeing.
No. Hey, on the bright side, that guy, he doesn't need to go buy a stud finder from Home Depot when he does renovations around the home. Stick his leg near the wall.
Right in his ankle.
I don't, honestly, Gavin, I don't know if there's really much else to say about this match because it's just...
I mean, the penalty?
Well, okay,
Never
the penalty.
Never a penalty.
Yes. But, here's the thing. If the tone has been set that way already, I think everything else out the window at that point. Yeah. You have no expectations for the referee at that point.
Correct. On the goal itself, the first goal, the Westwood goal. Okay, let's just box ourselves in. We're not talking about the referees. We're talking about the goal. What is Bush doing?
Bush Light?
Bush, the goalkeeper. Oh. Not spelled like Bush. Well, no, Bush has a C in it, right? So, anyways,
it does have a C in it.
His doesn't.
I see what you did there.
So on the goal, the ball gets clipped over and it gets headed out. I don't know if his depth perception is terrible, but it's clear the ball's dipping straight to one of his players. Maybe the player didn't call for the ball, or maybe Bush called for it and he was expecting the player to let it bounce. But Bush is running out to go get the ball, and then the player clears it, and Bush has to scramble back. And by the time he's even close to position, the ball's volleyed into the back of his net. If there's better communication there, if Bush just stays in his spot, he's saving that volley. And so that's where I think Columbus will feel really frustrated. That I think it's probably a miscommunication between the defender and the goalkeeper. But that one moment, I think, on top of everything else, but we're in our little box, that one moment is what ruins the draw for Columbus.
Yeah. I would say that's probably an accurate assessment is communication. And
I'm
we
not
know
sure what else would be the issue.
yeah, we know communication is frequent out there. I mean, if you think back to COVID matches before they got the bright idea to pump sound in as like a background noise to make it seem like, oh, there's people there. We know there's no one there. You don't need to lie to me, ESPN or FS1 or whoever was the first to come up with that idea. But we know, right? Like you could hear the players for quite a while before they started putting the background noise in and the soundtracks. And like there's a ton of communication that goes on. It's insane how much communication goes on. I have no idea how the players can hear each other with some of the loud home crowds in this league. But yeah, I mean, it's communication. Like it has to be that.
Yep, agreed.
All right. Gavin, anything else to note before we move on to our third in the series of top 3 poorly refereed matches of the week?
Let's go to it.
All right, we're going to go to Cincinnati versus New York City. The referee, I was at this match, so the referee got a very healthy dose of booing on basically everything past a certain point. I mean, there's a New York, I think where it kicks off, right? The Keller offside call on what I think had to be the greatest celebration I've seen from an FCC player in ages. If you haven't seen it, go just look it up for Kip Keller celebrating his then later ruled offside goal. But like it's a chippy match initially. There's lots of very hard challenges. The referee started this match by whistling absolutely everything. And then just somewhere along the way said, nope, I'm done. I've lost the whistle. It's on the ground somewhere. And then just let everything play when he was whistling the lightest possible fouls and then just gave up whistling. And then Lucho gets a yellow for dissent. Stop me if you heard this before. I mean, he gets a yellow for dissent seemingly every single match at this point, but he gets a yellow for dissent because a New York City player steps in front of the free kick to stop the restart. And Lucho just screams at the ref, immediate yellow card. No yellow for the NYC player that actually gets in front of the ball and deserves the yellow for delaying a restart, which we know is supposedly an initiative.
Can I just say my head would have been on Mars if that happened to my team, man? Oh,
Yeah.
I would have been pissed.
So, like, that's the thing. And again, it's inconsistent and poor game management, and it just stays that way. And there's like, I think there's 3 injury substitutions in this match alone. There is an NYCFC injury substitution for Hawk comes in for them eventually. I can't remember who it was, but it was a center back, I think, gets an injury and has to go off. And
Oh,
then
Risa?
yeah,
I'm looking
yep,
at the
Riza.
subs here. Risa is the
Yeah,
only center back to go
Riza.
off.
Yeah, injury gets taken off. And I mean, this is a needlessly physical game. Then O'Toole gets a concussion substitution because, again, very physical game. Kip Keller gets substituted and is limping coming off later on in the second half. And it's like you're letting players go basically ham on each other. And you started off setting a precedent of no contact at all and then reversed it immediately and never tried to enforce anything. It took us until the 51st minute of stoppage time in the first half That's when the second card came for an actual foul. For basically the entire first half, the only yellow card was for Lucho yelling at the referee to give a yellow card for something that is a yellow card.
So was it last week that we saw all the red cards? I think I said this to you via text. It's because I know when we were talking about it, listener, Russell was incensed at the time with the refereeing performance. And he was saying, there should have at least been one red card by this point in the match, and it was like halftime. Just a very aggressive game overall, as he just said. And my only thought was that there must have been some sort of communication to go out and say, guys, cool it on the red cards. We had way too many red cards last week. I don't know what's going on, but let's let this be a little bit more aggressive. We can't be too anal here. And now we've allowed the other end of the spectrum, as Russell just on the live stream indicated.
Yeah, we've gone from 0 to like 300 kilometers an hour.
Hey, Lucho Acosta's goal. So away from the refereeing for a second.
Mm-hmm.
To me, just the way that goal kind of looked visually, it looked like an FU goal. Like it looked like
it felt like one. It absolutely felt like one in the stadium.
A very angry goal. It looked like
extremely, exceedingly angry goal.
So those are always fun to watch for sure.
Yeah, the stadium erupted.
Yeah, sure people felt a lot of frustration.
People were mad about Kip Keller being called off. In fairness, from going back and looking at it, he did appear off. So it
wasn't. It wasn't Keller, right?
No, they in the angles they were putting the ball where Keller took the header for the restart.
Really?
So unless
it was Acosta who was off.
They put the ball down on the ground where Keller made his.
Well, that must have been a mistake because he's clearly
the referees made a mistake.
So, okay, if you go back and watch YouTube highlights of this game, which I encourage you to do, they show a really good angle where the ball is passed back to Acosta, and Acosta is very slightly offside. So then he gets the ball and crosses it. But if they called Kip Keller off, that's an insane call. Because to me, he does not look offsides there. To me, Keller looks on. It's Acosta when he receives the ball back. So I'd encourage anyone, yourself included, to look at that and tell me if I'm wrong. But I'll even try to find a picture of it. But,
I think
it's Acosta who's off.
Gavin, either way, based on where they put that ball, I have no idea what the decision was. And it doesn't help in the stadium as well because there's no in-stadium announcement about what's actually going on. There's not even anything on like the screens that shows or tells you. So it's a nightmare trying to understand right now what referees are making decisions on.
Hey, other than being insanely aggressive, I thought NYCFC were somewhat competitive. Do you agree?
I would say they looked moderately competent. The Cincinnati defense largely did a very good job keeping them out. I think there was one or two chances where Celentano had to make really good saves, and he made them. Celentano is good at a select number of things. One of those is stopping shots. Stopping penalties, not so much, but stopping shots in the run of play, he's good at. So thank goodness, because he stopped. He stopped some very important shots.
All right, I'm going to share my screen real quick. I'm going to show you.
You share away, Gavin.
Screen. Entire screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
It's a tiny dot on my screen, but go ahead.
Here. Can I zoom in? I can't zoom in on a video.
That's okay.
Okay, so the ball's here.
Right.
And he's clicking it, clipping it, passing it. And there's Lucho's leg. And you can see it's kind of in line with the stripe on the field. Or maybe even he's touching the lighter stripe. And no NYCFC defender is near that. Right?
I agree with you.
So Acosta's offside.
There are 4 offside Cincinnati players in this photo.
Yes. And this is where the ref blows the whistle. If you go back to the Keller shot, it's not going to load. But if you go back
No,
to the
of course
Keller
not.
shot,
Why would it ever?
Keller, let's see, is this where he plays it? Oh, it's right there. Okay, the player, this is a little bit later, but the player is clearly there. Keller's clearly
Yeah.
onside. So I think that's where they called it.
I-
But they placed it wrong.
Yeah,
So.
this just goes to show I have no idea what referees are doing at this point.
Right.
So, yeah. That said, NYCFC continues to lose matches. They are having their worst start to a season, I think, ever.
Well,
or they're on track to have their worst start of their season ever.
Let's get into that. Joe, Coach Joe, New York City FC correspondent corner yet again. We've got a lot of those tonight, so be on the lookout for those. New York City FC, every MLS team had to deal with international absences this week, but it appears that's the de facto excuse for coming away pointless in Cincinnati for Nick Cushing. On top of leading this club to one of the worst seasons in franchise history, he's breaking more records by now leading this club to one of the worst starts to a season in club history as well. 3 points in 5 matches, and a date with a pissed off Inter Messi on deck this weekend. Love it, Joe. I love the passion there.
I think it's in Miami too, so that's honestly one that I think I would put money on Miami for.
Miami's only negative on mine, only negative 125.
Not bad.
So
it's decent
I'm
odds.
taking them for sure. Put them with another, close lock and easy money.
Yeah. Hey, I'll say this. Last word on Cincinnati before we move on. They got to figure out scoring.
Yes, it's not. They're not doing it enough.
They're not doing it enough. Let me just briefly here. I did want to look at the goals forced for Cincinnati. 5. Through 5 matches, they have 5 goals scored. That is
not good enough.
Not good enough.
Yeah.
In comparison, Miami, 13 goals scored. New York Red Bulls, 8 goals scored. Columbus, 7 goals scored. Toronto, interestingly enough, have the same goals scored and goals allowed as Cincinnati, which tells me if the team with the same goals forced and same goals allowed as you is 5 places lower than you on the table, I think you're getting some generous results right now. So you need to step that up. Otherwise, the margins are going to go against you because they will.
Yep.
That's what happens in this sport. So,
absolutely. All right, that's a lot of time on that match. Let's move on here.
Tons of it. Hey, I want to talk about Toronto, Atlanta. Gavin, moment of the match. Toronto with 2 amazing goals. Clearly, the standout moment is neither of those. It's the Italians backheeling it to each other and before they pass it into the box. And actually, almost it does go on target. I think it ends up being a pretty decent attempt on goal. If it had been a goal, it might have been one of the best goals of the season.
Oh man, it would have been a beauty. Yep.
I mean, that's unbelievable. It's not even a goal, and that's the moment of the match. It was so much fun to watch. Like all the sauce in the world.
Yeah. Toronto were good in this match. I want to start there. I thought Toronto were really good in this match. They created a lot of chances. I thought they did a really good job at keeping the ball in the final third, in and around the box. From everything I saw, they looked like the dominant team. That comes out in the stats. They had 20 shots to Atlanta's 8, 9 shots on target. And so they were creating a lot of chances. That being said, as I referenced earlier, Atlanta had a lot of rotation, especially in their back line, really all around the field. But they started with, guys I've never heard of. Cobb at center back, I've never heard of him. Williams, I've heard of him, but he's not a starting caliber center back. And then Hernandez at the back was the third guy, Ronald Hernandez, who, he's decent, but again, with those other 2, he's not going to be great. Guzan in goal, who I thought was kind of shaky in this match as well. And so just
Is he not
overall,
shaky?
fair. I was, you know, if I was a smarter man and was thinking about international break when I placed my parlay, I would have not picked Atlanta to win this match for sure, because I knew they had a lot of internationals. And then up front, obviously they had Firmino, not that one, and Tiare, and just they didn't have any threat going forward. Defensively, they were all over the place, and just both goals they conceded were pretty poor from them defensively. So Toronto were good, with a caveat, unfortunately, that Atlanta were terrible.
Yeah. But again, fourth clean sheet for Toronto this season, though. If
Yes.
if we can be honest, John Herdman overperforming, or is this like his true level of coaching? I mean, this is it. It's a very different Toronto than prior year, and you can say it's addition by subtraction because both Bradleys are gone. But there is defensive work rate. There is identity. The Italians look like they're having fun again. I mean, it's almost like a brand new team, and it's mostly the same players.
I don't want to say overperforming. I almost feel like they're performing kind of at a relatively good level, and the quality just shown through with the changes with Atlanta. But Toronto have been in very close matches, and the margins have kind of gone for them right now. It's going to be interesting to see. Like you said, they have the same number of goals, conceded goals scored as Cincinnati, right?
Yep.
Um, and so it's just going to be interesting to see like how do they fare in these tight games over the course of the season. They're definitely going to have a few that go against them, but are we going to start to see that trend downwards? Either way, they're no longer a last place in the East contender team. And I don't think they ever were going to be under John Herdman. So I think this is where they're at now. And I think they're going to be a bubble playoff team with just how strong the East is. I think we see them anywhere from 5, and they have an insanely good season, to 11, 12. And like they have a lot of things go against them in terms of injuries. But I think that's their range, like 12 to 5. And it's going to be a close one in the East nonetheless. But it's been a good start for them.
Well, you heard it here first. Gavin projects team with most clean sheets so far this season to finish 12th.
I didn't say that. You know what I mean. Okay. Last thing here. Look, and this was an important win for Toronto. I think Atlanta have been a good team, so just whatever. But Atlanta, on the Atlanta side of things, another correspondent corner from Bryce. When things are up, injuries and MLS scheduling finds ways to bring us back down to earth. When the club's missing all 3 DPs, it's going to be hard to win. Bad conditions, and the team couldn't find a way to get an ugly point out of it. So that's where the Atlanta fans' mindset is.
Hey, we talked about this briefly over the weekend. Is Pineda on fraud watch? Because, hear me out, I gave some more thought to it from when we talked about it.
Okay.
I don't know when Atlanta will have a striker like Giacomakis performing like this again, as he has been last season and this season so far. It's unlikely that Almada is going to stay there forever. They had Robinson, and yes, he couldn't stay healthy. He had injury issues, all that. Okay. They now have Muyumba as well, who's been a revelation for them in the midfield last season. And as well, I think they had Gutman. They traded him away foolishly, I might add. Love Gutman. But I mean, you can't say that this Atlanta team has lacked talent under Pineda. And at no point in time do they seem to be getting long-term results commensurate with the talent. Which I question then, if you know the talent is good and they're doing well in other places, is that on the coach?
I'm not a fan of Pineda for Atlanta. I'm just not. I don't think he's good enough to lead them to where they want to be as a club. They have high ambitions. They spend a lot of money. They want to be back to one of the best teams in the league. They have the players, in my opinion, to be one of the best teams in the league. I think where they're lacking is in the coaching department. That being said, I am remiss to say Pineda, is on fraud watch all of a sudden because of this loss, because of um, all the international stuff that I talked about. And looking at their record right now, they're 2-2. 2 wins, 2 losses. They lost to Columbus. Fair. They lost to Toronto, and there's caveats there. So I'm okay with holding off for now, but from my years of knowledge of Pineda, yes, I'm not a big fan of his. So that's kind of where I stand.
All right. We will continue to extrapolate from incomplete data in future weeks. Hey, Gavin, I'm going to take a break here. I'm going to continue to just slurp down this oatmeal stout while you talk and wax lyrical about Orlando versus Austin. Gavin, you can correct me if I'm wrong. This is Orlando's first win of the season. Congratulations.
It was, yes. And boy, did Austin.
And Orlando was responsible for making me some money. Let that be known.
Bingo. Yeah, you were a smarter man than me and a braver man than me as well. I would not have put money on Orlando this weekend, as I knew our international situation. We had a lot of international players out, from goalkeeper, from midfield, from attack. It was a bare bones B-level squad. We started the MLS Next Pro MVP from last season at striker. So that tells you how we were faring in attack. We started Nico Ladero at defensive mid. We started our backup right back, who is also our backup left back, at defensive mid alongside him. And we had Schlegel, who's had some poor performances at the back, start this match as well. And a backup goalkeeper along with it. So, all in all, very rotated side. And we were by far the better team. Maybe not by far, but Austin really didn't pose that much of a threat. Defensively, we were sound, we were good. We didn't give up any big chances. There was nothing for Austin in this match. There wasn't a header off of a corner. There wasn't a shot where the goalkeeper had to make a save, other than maybe from really far out. And we just had a really calm, comfortable game at the back, and Austin didn't threaten us. And then we were able to go up the field, press, get them into corners, win the ball off them, and try to create. First half was pretty boring, but it was the second half where we really came to life. And for large stretches of the second half, we were the better team. Like most of the second half, we were dominating them. And we should have had another goal earlier on. I was really concerned that we were going to regret that and go down to 1-1 off of some crazy goal like what happened against Minnesota. But Ladero stepped up, got the free kick goal that I'm sure you saw. It was a beauty. And 2-0, and Austin just by that point where they didn't pose a threat. And so, yeah, big win to start the season with a very rotated side. Man, did we need that. That moves us up to 13th in the East. Yeah. Really disappointed with Austin's display, considering how rotated we were and how bare bones we were. Because they had a mostly full starting 11. I mean, they started guys like Driussi. They started why are the other guys not coming to me right now? They started Ring. They had basically their starting 11 in. O'Brien, here's the lineup. Finley, Rubio, Hedges, Gallagher. I mean, they had their full lineup in, and they really didn't even compete with us. It was poor.
You can be disappointed in their performance, but Gavin, are you surprised?
No, and that I'm sure you've seen the pictures of the Wolf Out banner.
Gavin, I've been Wolf Out since last season.
Yeah.
I don't think he's even on fraud watch anymore. He's on fraud alert or fraud warning. This is if we're going on if we're going on the tornado system, this is no longer a tornado watch. It's a tornado warning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fraud warning.
Wolf is actively a fraud. Take shelter if you're an Austin fan.
I love that. Um, yeah, they were extremely poor, and I was just sitting there. Watching. I'm like, wow, this is bad. Wow.
It's
So.
insane to me that they're not in last place in the West right now, and it is even funnier to me who is in last place in the West right now. So we will cover that a little bit more later on.
All right, who's next?
Oh, Gavin, my dear to my heart, and soon to be returning Vanni Sartini and the Vancouver Whitecaps losing at home at BC Place to Real Salt Lake 2-1. Gotta say, felt good to see Krylock get on the score sheet. I was a big fan of that. It felt like it's been a long time coming. Story of Vancouver once again, they missed some golden opportunities. It feels like their tactics are they're working their way out, right? Sartini was on like a media day. He was explaining, here's what we're going to try and do this season. Here's our identity. And it doesn't feel like it's quite clicking yet. We've seen it, right? There's been glimpses of it. There's been moments when you see Vancouver and you're just like, they look excellent. And there's other times where you're like there's an idea, but it doesn't feel like everyone's on the same page. There's not quite the execution there yet. Like this needs time to gel, which is interesting to say because of your two big playmakers, White and Gauld. They both have stayed, and you've added on Damir Krylock. So you wouldn't expect there to be as much ramp up time as there currently is. But you and I are on the same page on Sartini. I think he will get it figured out. He's a perfectly acceptable coach for MLS. He's not the top. He's not the bottom. He is very comfortably an MLS caliber coach.
Right in the middle, Sartini standard, baby.
The Sartini standard.
Legendary.
I measure all other coaches against Vanni Sartini.
That's the way to do it. Yeah, so I think you covered it from the Vancouver side, and we've got a Vancouver correspondent corner. So
I feel bad. I stole it.
No, you're good. I steal most of it most of the time. I'll cover Real Salt Lake because I did have some notes here. As I'm sure you saw Barajas performance, the youngster who played this match for Real Salt Lake. He's the one who he got 2 assists in this game. Played the through ball for Anderson Julio's goal. And I mean, that was an amazing ball.
Can we talk about RSL's youth? Like Diego Luna was a youth sensation. Now they might have another youth sensation. What's in the water in that very salty lake?
I mean, I wrote this down verbatim. Barajas with a pass that if Messi would have done it, it would have been on BR Football. Like it was a
Messi can trip over and tie his shoe and it'll be on BR Football.
I mean, Messi chipped the injured player on the floor.
And it made the world news. Everyone's like, only in MLS. And then like other people went and they're like, look, it's happening in La Liga as well. Boom. Here you go.
So, but
that's just Messi.
Insane through ball. His second assist is a lot less work on him, to be fair. He just lays it off and the dude chips the goalkeeper with an insane finish. So that was cool to see. But yeah, breakout game for Barajas. And this is the game that took away my 3. I got the other 2 right. I got Cincinnati. Oh, I did bet on Orlando. I got Cincinnati and Orlando. Because remember, I did our 3 teams. It was Vancouver who screwed me over. So
I didn't bet on Vancouver this week because weird things happen in Vancouver, Salt Lake.
Yes. All right. At Stonkmaster, what's his thing? At Stonkmaster _ Okay, our Vancouver correspondent. Correspondent corner. He says the Caps continue their shocking inversion of home versus away form, still without a win at home. 0 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss, but unbeaten away. 2 wins, 0 draw, 0 loss. Vancouver were big favorites coming into this week's match at BC Place, but certainly weren't prepared for RSL. Very sloppy plays with the ball led to RSL dominating possession. Vancouver proved incapable of effectively pressuring the ball carrier, which led to a flurry of shots against. The constant attack from RSL also led to impulsiveness when Vancouver earned the ball back, oftentimes seeing players trying to dribble through the RSL defense and midfield, leading to cheap turnovers. An injury to Brian White, 56 minutes in, didn't improve the Caps' chances. They saw their fortunate 1-0 lead disintegrate in a matter of minutes, ultimately losing 2-1. Key next week will be sticking to the tactical plan and providing a united effort both in defending and attacking. We will also see Vanni Sartini return to the bench next week after being suspended for all matches thus far this season. I think that's a really good summary of the match.
I'm excited to see Sartini return. It's going to be a win. Does Vancouver play at home next week? If they do, it's a win. I'm looking right now. Vancouver plays at home against Portland. That's a win. Lock it in right now.
Lock.
Yeah, that's a lock. Also, Neville's a fraud. So, and we'll talk about more about how Neville's a fraud later on in this episode.
All right, who's next?
We're gonna talk right now about a team that I was certain was going to screw me on my parlay that won. LA Galaxy with the big away win over Sporting Kansas City.
I couldn't believe it.
Holy moly. I've never seen a more rough 10 minutes for it. It's not even, it's like 8 minutes. But now, to be fair, I will say I watched this match intently twice. I watched it live and then I rewatched it.
Oh.
Yeah. Galaxy could very well have had more than 3. Joveljic had so many good opportunities in the second half. It was unbelievable how many times he put the ball in the back of the net and then the flag went up. Like, if that man could have stayed onside, he single-handedly could have turned this into a rout all on his own. And Ricky Puig, legit. Gavin, did you see the through balls that Puig was playing? It wasn't just one good through ball.
Insane. He's elevating to another level right now this season. He's having a great start to the year.
I don't know how he stays. Like, legitimately, like if I'm the Galaxy, throw all the money at Ricky Puig and just hope he stays for the money and because he loves LA. Because there's no reason a player this young and this good and in this level of form shouldn't be in one of those Big 5 leagues at a big team.
Bring in his brother, bring in his sister, bring in his best friend. I don't care. Like,
give him houses, give him cars. Put into his contract if he never walks outside the United States unless it's with LA Galaxy in attendance with him, that he gets like a bonus of, I don't know, $50,000 every day.
Him and his agent aren't allowed to talk to anybody, let alone another team.
Yeah. Like, if you can turn off your cell phone and deactivate your email for the next 5 years, we will pay you 1 Brinks truck every year.
Yeah. So he's been sensational for them. Paint Sill has been incredibly important to the way they've been playing. And Gabriel Peck, I mean, he's going to be a star in this league. I'm sure you saw in his performance. I think you can see a player who's gonna really come to light in this league and really reach a high potential. SKC, 2 goals off of corners, which I think I saw the stat. LA Galaxy have conceded 4 goals, their last 4 goals off corners.
Yeah, I think Galaxy are the worst team at defending set pieces in the league.
Yeah, right for now. Yeah. I mean, it's been really bad. But now that it's been highlighted and everyone's talking about it, they're going to work on it, and then it's going to be okay. That's usually how it works.
Yeah, absolutely not.
No. That's how it works. That's how it works. Listen to me.
I'm listening to you. I'm not internalizing it, but I'm listening to you.
They will not concede a set-piece goal for the next, 4 matches. I promise you.
That is straight up propaganda. I'm here for it, Gavin, but it's propaganda.
It's just the way it works. It gets highlighted. The media talks about it. The coaching staff focuses on it. Team's fine. They're going to be fine.
Let me see here. LA Galaxy next week is going to play Seattle. So you know what? At least for that match, they probably won't concede a goal because Seattle have been dreadful.
Hey, I hope you picked LA Galaxy this week in your 3 because Galaxy at home against Seattle are plus right now.
I can tell you right now,
Lock that in.
I'm almost certain I took that.
I did for sure. I did. Okay. I'm gonna do a correspondent corner. Like I said, we
Yep.
have a ton of those. This is from our SKC correspondent. Travis Mitchell. Sorry, I couldn't remember the name. Okay, Travis says we played 65 minutes of our best soccer of the season, only to throw it all away. Although there was obvious improvement in many areas, Sporting Kansas City is deeply flawed and ended up with our worst result of the year. We got more looks at goal than we have had in any game yet. However, we were only able to convert during set pieces. Having 2 target men at the same time, Rosero and Agata, makes a world of difference. Additionally, it was nice hearing people talk about what Pulido does in the attack instead of complaining about him being away from the box. All that said, the team lacks athleticism, and if Peter doesn't start using subs, we can expect to see late game collapses more often. The athleticism part is the one that hits me hard as a kind of a neutral that I'll be looking out for more often. And is that I don't know if that's a thing that's normal with Peter Vermees teams or if
I think
that's just something that's going on this year.
I think he's historically been pretty bad about subbing, and you could have the argument in previous seasons that they didn't have a healthy squad, and so you couldn't effectively sub, but subbing has been a conversation around Vermees for longer than just this week.
Fair. Okay. Well, we'll move on. That was another good summary of the match.
Yeah, I'm loving it. Correspondents are knocking it out of the park this week. I don't know why I'm not using a soccer reference for a soccer
Home runs?
podcast, but yeah, some home runs.
We're not playing at Yankee Stadium right now.
Yeah, no, they're sending it through the uprights right now, which is, unfortunately very apropos for a number of MLS teams to play in football stadiums. So,
Bingo.
yeah. Hey, St. Louis versus DC United. St. Louis hopping out to an early lead, and then DC immediately snatching that lead into a tie game before then going ahead, and then St. Louis with a late goal. I'm going to be honest, Gavin, I was shocked that St. Louis came back to get a draw in this because for the first half, maybe even vast stretches of the second half, they looked like they couldn't be bothered either, similar to Miami.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it took a penalty, right?
Yeah, it was a Klaus penalty.
And it was one of those awkward ones, actually, where the player is being honest. And it's a 50-50 ball. He gets there first. I think he's jumping, and he gets kicked in midair. He falls, gets up, and continues playing on. And VAR brings it back and calls a penalty, which some might even say is controversial because that means the ref played advantage. So should you bring it back? But the ref didn't indicate advantage, so he didn't see the fouls. So, whatever. Ref logistics. So yeah, I agree. St. Louis have been very mid this season. They've been good. Yeah. They've been bad. A lot of close games.
No losses.
Goals, scoring goals. Yeah, no losses, but a few draws.
Quite 4 of them,
right? 4?
4 draws.
Are they 4 for 4 on draws?
They are 1 win, 0 losses, 4 draws.
Oh, they have 5 games played. Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that bad. I just remember I was like, St. Louis are drawing a lot of draws.
Right.
Yeah, that tracks. Do you have anything else?
Hey, you want to talk about Benteke for a second?
What about him?
Really good striker.
Oh, offensively, yes.
Yeah, Gavin, I'm not saying that he's a good striker in terms of like link up and defensive work rate. Offensively, though, chef's kiss. He has been producing quite a lot so far this season.
Yeah, it feels like Troy Lesane definitely said, "Hey, I've got a Premier League level player here. Why don't I take advantage of that?"
Yeah, why
He's
don't I
doing
just keep him
that.
in the position? To echo Jesse Marsh, I'm going to go all the way back to the U.S. men's national team match when they had Jesse Marsh on at halftime commentating and talking about how, you know, there are players under Greg that are being deployed in ways that do not take advantage of their skill set and natural talents. And Lassane is, at least with Benteke, avoiding that error. He is taking complete advantage of Benteke's skills and natural talents. And I mean, honestly, like, good on him. Like that, I'm. I guess I'm surprised. I know we've talked about this a little bit that he didn't retain the job at New York Red Bulls, given the pretty good late season rally he had. But Red Bulls' loss is DC United's gain in this case. And again, I mean, similar to Herdman, it's a team with largely returning players across the board, change of coach, but very different result.
Yeah, I just want to call out as well a young player who they signed, them being DC United, and there was a lot of hype around Pirani. He's had a really rough start to the season. He hasn't been impressive, and they if DC want to go far this season, they're going to need him to step up because I don't think that I don't think they invested like millions and millions of dollars into him, but they invested time, effort, money into getting him, and to be their number 10. He's wearing the number 10 shirt. That's supposed to be their guy, and he has not hit at all right now. The only other thing I'll comment on Benteke specifically is he was a ghost for the first goal of the game. And that was on the set piece. So the only thing that I noted down was he won't want to be rewatching that moment, but he made up for it immediately. We have another correspondent corner here from Tyler Samt from the St. Louis perspective. So good that we're getting both perspectives here. St. Louis not losing in air quotes isn't as fun as winning. It's nice to have a second year in a row unbeaten through City's first 5, but Saturday night was a wasted opportunity after some lazy soccer for nearly 60 minutes that resulted in 2 golden opportunities capitalized on by DC United. I'm not interested in going in on the officials or DC's time-wasting antics for those last 30 minutes. The problem is inside the house. There's a difference between expecting to win and expecting to be handed a win. And when you waste 60 minutes on the ladder and squander your own golden opportunities, you don't deserve to win. Get back to working hard and staying focused, and the much-needed wins will start to come. On the strategic side, quit skipping the midfield phase. Over-the-top soccer went out of vogue a long time ago for very good reason. Good. Man, that's another good one.
Speaking to my heart right now. I'm glad we agree that it was not impressive for large parts on St. Louis.
Interesting that Tyler's calling out as well game management from the referees.
Game management, it's an issue. It's a very legitimate issue. Hey, that said, topic game management. I don't know if you noticed this, but there's been some insane amounts of stoppage time in matches.
Yeah, I mean,
because what was it? Columbus Charlotte went to like what 104.
Well, they had 60 minutes in the first half because of everything going on, but then I think they went to 104. I think we've had games go to 99 recently, 102.
Yeah, Cincinnati was 102. Yeah. I was in the stadium for that one, and they announced 9. They added on 12 or 13 minutes. Yeah. They added on 5 minutes in the first half, and I mean, when you have 17 minutes added on between 2 halves, that's a lot of soccer. Again, it's going to add to injuries.
Yes, it is. It's a good point.
So, yeah. All right, Gavin, you got anything else, or do you want to talk about the absolute fiasco that was the 96th minute of Colorado versus Houston? Because that's the only thing to talk about, if you ask me, in this match. I mean, so Nick, who was going to be on this episode and then unfortunately came down with some unfortunate illness. So Nick, we wish you a quick recovery. very soon so that you can be on here officially to complain about Houston versus Colorado. But he had a question that I wanted to pose to you, which is what happened, do you think, in the closing moments of this match where Maxo went down in the box, took an elbow to the face, referee does not stop the match. This is a head injury, right? Elbow to head. Rapids didn't play it out. Maybe that's their own fault, okay? But that's not the referee should see that that's a head injury and stop it. He didn't. Houston gets the ball back, hits on the counter while he's on the ground to win. Very, very late. Like last minute of the game, late. What went on? Is this a referee error? Is this inconsistency? Is this game management? I mean, I lean towards this is just the referee not being good, personally. I don't know if the referee stared right at it and said, no, fake. He dove. Like,
That's where my head goes. The ref leaning towards it being a dive or the player faking it. I think especially towards the end of games, refs seem to do that where it's like, oh, this player's just wasting time. And there's a bit of a almost like a gray area that's starting to form around teams and players, unfortunately, whatever little gap they can get into to kind of break the rules a bit and take advantage, maybe not break, but take advantage of rules.
bend the rules.
Bend the
Bend-
rules
bend
to
it
their
like
advantage.
Beckham.
Yes. They will. And so one that we're starting to see is, oh, I've got a head injury. Ref is obligated to stop the play. This ref should have stopped the play. Like, based on the current set of rules, he did his job wrong. But play continues. Oh, sorry. But players right now will do that on purpose to stop the game, slow down the game, waste time, get up. Or maybe they actually did get a hit to the head, their head's hurt, and we should get them checked out. In this instance, player gets hit in the head, and this is where I think the ref is thinking.
I think this is where VAR isn't thinking, if you ask me.
Well,
because I'm not sure why they don't go back and look at this.
The ref allows play to continue, and Colorado doesn't put the ball out. Okay? So throw-in goes in, elbow to the head, Colorado continues, ref is allowing play to go on. The ref is probably thinking, I can't just stop it because they've given the ball away now. I can't just, oh, they have it. It's the last minute. I don't want to stop it because the fans will yell at me. Oh, they've given the ball away. I can't stop it because that would be unfair, right? I have to be consistent. I think it's that phase of play where he lets Colorado continue and put another cross into the box, the last minute of the game, where he's thinking, yes, there's a player on the ground. Yes, he's holding his head. I let play go on. I'm not going to all of a sudden stop it because there's no more advantage because the home team gave the ball away. That's not how it works. How it should have worked is, oh, there's a player on the ground who got elbowed in the head. I need to stop this play immediately, no matter how angry Colorado's players and fans will be, because it's the 96th minute of the game.
Right. And then you drop ball to resume play after they've been checked
the time
out.
on. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So for me, poor refereeing, ref should have stopped the game, but it's not at the point of counterattack where the game should have stopped. It's at the point of realizing there's an injured player. Colorado have the ball. and
But
they're still playing with it and trying to get the ball back into the box.
I think even if they send the ball away, right? Let's say the referee doesn't notice the injured player until Houston has the ball. I think the second you notice the player injured, holding their head down on the ground.
Yes.
Yeah,
So if he
me,
didn't notice it until Houston has the ball, yeah, absolutely, because he thought everything was fine, and then there was an injured player. I don't know when he notices it. I'll try and go back to watch.
Yeah,
when he notices it.
I think it's a largely academic point because I mean, Colorado didn't do enough to win this match. I know I talked briefly with Nick about this, and actually, let me just see if there's any other notes here.
Yep, he notices it while Colorado's still in possession.
Yeah, then
he looks directly at the player, but when Mihailovic passes the ball to Rosenberry, and he makes the decision there, I'm not calling this. I'm not calling this for an injury. And I think that's what leads to the fast break and the goal.
And then Nick also notes that in watching this match with a Houston fan, both of them were surprised to see Escobar get away with what both of them believed to be a headbutt in around the 30th minute with no red card. And I've seen players get sent off with red cards and 3-match suspensions for pushing their head into the chest of another player. So the bar is not very high for that.
I haven't seen it.
I also did not see it.
I've got the game pulled up, so let me go look for it real quick.
I'll just say that's another note that Nick called out to me from this one, and I'm glad he did because I did not watch loads of this match.
I'm not finding it immediately unless he did a very light 30th minute. I don't know. If it's a headbutt, I mean, yeah, he should be red carded. He should be suspended. I mean, Escobar's a player with a hot head. I'm not
apparently a hard head
though. Very hard head.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not finding it, Nick. But I agree. It should be a red card. It should be a suspension. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
How Gavin, he got away with it is poor refereeing.
Yeah. And we've talked about it a lot.
I just want to call this out really quickly because I did go back and I did go back and watch the highlights real quick, and I just want to call out something funny.
Yep. Call it out.
So as you stated, nothing happened in this game other than the last second and apparently a 30th minute headbutt, right? And I could have told you nothing happened in this match without watching it, because I went and watched the highlights, and for the first 5 minutes of the 7-minute highlight package, they had, I counted everything, one long pass, just a long pass, 4 fouls, just regular fouls, 3 offside calls, a couple of dainty long shots, and then finally towards the end of the match, when Colorado started picking up steam and finishing the game strong, we got some shots in there. But it was really funny because the first 5 minutes was literally just a pass, a foul, a cross. It was just nothing.
Someone in the production crew was like, nothing happened in this game. I don't care. Throw something in there. Just pick random timestamps.
Yeah, literally, that's exactly what happened. So,
okay,
now I'm done.
Sounds good. We are moving on. Gavin, we have 3 matches left. Every single match was on Saturday this week, which, by the way, hate it.
Terrible.
Awful. Portland versus Philadelphia. Philadelphia, rough start to the season. Proving, though, that they are still a good team. Portland performing, and I said this into the group chat, into the MLS Now group chat. I said something along the lines of, it's going to be hilarious when Portland ends this match with 0 goals, 2.8 XG, 15 shots, 8 on target, and
Very
like
close.
yeah. And they ended up with 18 shots, 7 on target. I don't know what their XG was, and I would bet it was probably in like the twos, but they ended up with 1 goal. Point being, I mean, I don't know how. I don't know if this is unlucky. I don't know if this is just not executing well on their chances. It could be that Philadelphia just had a great keeper performance, and they had some good saves in there as well. But I mean, they hit the crossbar, they hit the woodwork, anything that could have gone wrong for Portland went wrong. And it feels very, very Portland, which is funny because they're in 4th place right now. I mean, that if the season ended today, would be getting a home playoff spot. So,
Oh no, I think Portland have been very impressive this season. But yeah, just like you said, everything that went wrong could have went wrong. Philadelphia were extremely clinical on the night, and I mean there were just a couple things. There was that time. Sorry, I muted myself.
you did
There
mute
was
yourself.
there was the third goal where they switch off. Portland just switched off, and it's just like, yeah, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, but they certainly didn't help themselves either. They were down 2-1 at home, in the 66th, 67th minute. They had plenty of time to remedy that situation. Or sorry, 2-0, but they had time to remedy that situation, and instead they switch
didn't.
off, and it's 3-0. It's kind of week over, or game over. And I mean, Pantemis didn't have a great game in goal either. One of the goals was just a long shot, and Pantemis gifts it straight to Carranza, I think it was. Which was just very poor. Or no, I think that one was Sullivan's goal. But yeah, just overall, just a lot of things going against Portland on the night and going for Philadelphia.
Is this a regression to the mean for Portland? Is this a true level performance? Maybe they're overperforming for multiple matches in a row. I mean, to be fair, they got a win against New York City with 2 goals extremely late.
I think this is just I chalk this up to variance. Like that's the first thing that came to my mind when I saw what happened in this match. Just the variance of the sport. They dominated the game. I mean, 72% possession. They dominated the game in terms of the ball, but also they had 18 shots, like you called out.
Yeah.
So they created chances, just didn't go their way.
Yeah, and Philadelphia does like to let teams have possession. I mean, that's the Philly style.
That's where I was going next. I thought this was a really big win for Philadelphia, no matter, how hook or by crook it came. It was a huge win for Philadelphia, and really supported their style of play.
Yep. All right, Gavin. We've talked about this as well. San Jose 3, Seattle 2. Is Schmetzer's time in Seattle coming to a close? I'm going to say yes. And I think they've probably missed his time coming to a close by about a year.
I mean, they got second in the West last year, but
the West was
felt like
not good last year.
It felt like an overperform. Yeah, I think it is coming close. I think it will be dragged out even longer just because of who he is and what he means to that club's history. It's be interesting to see where they go. But I think
it's going to get ugly.
Within the next year and a half, I think we see Schmetzer leave. Or season and a half. So we start next season and 6 months in, it's too much. It's going to take a lot for them to bounce back. They lost their magic sauce in Garth Lagerwey. And I think Schmetzer's struggling because of it.
Yeah, I I was actually having another unrelated discussion that it strikes me as interesting that about the point in time when Seattle should have done a rebuild, when Rui Diaz was starting to drop off, when João Paulo was just coming back from injury, but he had been out, and you started to see, well, we either need to go get new blood and get ready for a changing of the guard because maybe these guys can hold on for one more year, maybe. But like a lot of them were on the downward slide at this point. I mean, Rui Diaz, they went out, they signed a bear from NYCFC, which was nonsensical. It didn't there was no good reason to do that. I mean, fans are clamoring for Yamar to go out, Nuhu getting plenty of plenty of flack. I think Alex Roldan is turning into a good lockdown right back, but he's not an aggressive right back that's going to give you anything going forward in a back four. So I mean, like there's signs there, right? That it was time to shift. And they didn't shift, and a lot of these guys are still starting. Now, I mean, João Paulo is really good, right? Like he can probably keep going, but maybe you get a succession plan going because he's getting up there in age. He's had some pretty bad injuries. You start to worry about it. But the point in time when all this probably should have happened is around when Lagerwey got poached to Atlanta. And I can't help but wonder if he had stayed that extra year, would he have started the teardown and rebuild?
Probably, yeah. I think you're onto something there.
Yeah, that's so. Anyways,
Yeah, I think yes is the answer to your question.
yeah, I think Seattle they've missed the mark on when they needed to start the rebuild. I mean, Rui Diaz went what 90 minutes in this match, and then got a red card. Was it, or was that last week?
No red card in this match for Rui Diaz. Nope.
Yeah,
He got a goal.
Okay, he did get a goal, but somewhere along the way, either way, point being, you have Rui Diaz starting. De La Vega is out and for injury. Honestly, even when he comes back, I mean, where are you getting anything exciting out of the Seattle team? I mean, Rui Diaz, I think we agree, is on a downward slide. Jordan Morris is inconsistent at best right now. He's been kind of on a downward slide for the latter half of last season from like Leagues Cup to onward. Again, Roldan is still starting on your back line. The other Roldan, he's doing okay. He's hanging in there. I mean, again, it's not ideal, but
He's doing all right, yeah.
yeah, it's
Reagan isn't cutting in at the back. I mean, just
yeah,
all across the place, they're having troubles. I think.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, existentially, Seattle are in need of a refresh, in terms of players. So, I think that's just how I'm going to view them a lot this season. In terms of the game itself, I mean, San Jose played well. They got 2 goals up.
Yep.
And
They
then,
gave 2 goals away.
to be fair, the first penalty is harsh, in my opinion. Ref calls a shove in the back on a 50-50 header in midair. I disagree with it, but whatever. So soft penalty.
Don't put yourself in the position with referees that you know are bad at game management. Don't give them the chance, is what it comes down to. Yeah, I agree. So, the normal referees probably don't call that.
Yeah, that's not a penalty on normal standards. For the most part, we've seen it called before too, and I've disagreed with it then. So, soft penalty that allows Seattle back into the game, and then they get the momentum. They're at 2-1, then it's 2-2. So, like, it's promising from Seattle. They were able to like have that moment, right? Get back to 2-2, but then they throw it all away, like
immediately,
seconds later. Yeah, like so quickly. I think it's 81st minute goal for Seattle.
Yep.
And then 82nd minute goal for Ebobisse.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. So really, really disappointing from Seattle to throw away what would have been a good result for them at this moment in time. So, and again, San Jose played well. I think they deserve to win the match. I don't think they deserve to drop points in this match, and I'm glad they didn't. I mean, there were multiple yellow cards for Seattle for professional fouls. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Side note, Seattle, last place in the West.
Yep.
Don't
That
know
is-
don't know when I've ever been able to say that. Through
Not even when they won Champions
Yeah.
League.
through 4 matches. It's not like this is the first match. I mean, like, oh, ha ha ha, Seattle had a bad first week. They're last place in the West. No, 4 matches in, 2 points.
Yeah, it's be interesting to see where they go from here. They've got a rough game up next against LA Galaxy, and I have no faith in them
Yeah,
for that
lock
one.
that one in on the bets.
No faith in them for that one. So,
All right. Well, hey, let's talk about the final LA match and the final match of the week and the match that won me some money, that locked in my, my parlay that actually hit and did quite well. Los Angeles FC over Nashville 5-0. 5. Gavin. 5.
I had this
That's
one locked in
half
as
of way to 10.
I had this one locked in as a draw, and Nashville were just like, yeah, we're not going to play any defense today.
I mean, that was worse than the Miami match. I mean,
yeah.
What?
I think Nashville in a bad moment right now. LAFC caught them at a good time. LAFC and Bouanga caught them at a good time. I mean, Bouanga's back, man.
Yeah.
Bouanga's back. He had a great performance. Nashville, they go a couple goals down. They're away from home against one of the best teams at home in the league. What are you going to do, right? Then they get
Joe
a
Willis red card.
Yep. And Nashville are sent home licking their wounds.
Yeah. And it's not like the Joe Willis red card made a world of difference. LA were already up 3 goals.
Yeah, 3-0.
Yeah. I mean, legitimately, is Gary Smith the manager on the hottest seat right now? Because it has been a long-term, steady downward trend for Nashville since the League's Cup last year. And it's sustained. I mean, it is just uninspiring performance after uninspiring performance. They're investing money into players. They're bringing in proven MLS talent, guys that have worked on other teams, and they're coming in and just still
That's a
nothing.
good question. Hottest seat, I go between Cushing, Wolf, and Smith. And I think it's Wolf. Only because Cushing, he comes from internal to CFG. And so that's technically their guy. And they're going to give him every single chance he can get. I wouldn't be surprised if like Cushing is some coach that they think has potential and they're letting him just really figure it out in a league that CFG
They don't
doesn't
care
really
about.
care about.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, NYCFC, low pressure, low stakes, no relegation. Let him figure it out there.
Yeah.
So-
Honestly, I think that's spot on. I think they're going to let Cushing stay for at least the rest of the season.
until it gets too untenable, right? Just unfathomably bad. But I don't
They
think
may
it will
not-
reach that point.
They may not even get rid of him until they get a new stadium. Like,
Okay, okay. Yeah, so I don't think his seat is the hottest. It should be just based on performance and result. But I think Wolf, because it's been not as long as Smith has had his ups and downs, but Wolf went from the up to down, 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 and they're still on that downward trajectory. I don't know where Austin go from here. So I'd say Wolf,
Smith.
Smith and Cushing. Cushing Smith. I could go either way.
Cushing is on such a cold seat right now. I don't think it's even lukewarm.
Okay. Okay. Fair
It
enough,
should
yeah.
be. I agree with you. Cushing
Okay.
should be on the
Smith Cushing.
hottest, like sitting on top of, like I don't know, like an uni pizza oven. Like it should be 800 degrees under him right now. And it is not. It is like it's a folding metal chair that you've had in your basement all winter long, and you're bringing it out for like a cookout in spring. And
Got
it's
some
like
nice cushions on it.
yeah, it's got some nice Cushings on it.
Yeah.
Terrible. Catastrophic. Get him out of here.
All right, we've been going 2 hours. I think we've hit every team, right?
We have hit every team, Gavin,
Oof.
but there's
What a night.
still one thing that we need to do.
What?
Yeah, there's still one thing we need to do, Gavin. Lock it in. What you got?
Oh shoot! All right, hold on. Let me pull it up.
You me go first?
Go
I also
first.
did it.
I did it. Go first.
All right. Now, we talked about this already. I did lock it in. LA Galaxy. I'm taking LA Galaxy over Seattle. Galaxy are plus 100 at home on my app. So I'm also taking Toronto FC over Sporting Kansas City. Toronto are at plus 155 at home. Makes no sense to me because they're 4 clean sheets. Insane to me. And Sporting Kansas City just threw away a game. So honestly, I think it's going to be a perfect storm for Toronto to just continue to roll. So, and then finally, I'm taking FC Cincinnati over Charlotte. And I'm taking this one. It's a plus 220.
That's a risky maneuver.
It's risky. I'm nervous about it. I personally think like the offense can only flub chances for so long. Like they're so close. They're so close, Gavin. They had chances against NYC and they just messed them up.
Yep.
I think they're gonna be okay, and I'm banking on it being this week that they finally connect. They've got an unbelievable defense. I think they're gonna keep another clean sheet. I don't see a loss.
Good on the road too. You guys are good on the road.
So that's what I'm locking in. It's a total odds of plus 1532 somehow for what I largely consider decent, decent shouts.
Well, I've got 2 of your 3, so we were on the same wavelength. Galaxy and Toronto, same.
All right.
And then I went with tie or CF Montreal away against DC United.
Oh, DC's gonna clean them out.
Nope. Montreal have been really good this season, I promise you.
And that's why they're gonna lose.
They should have beat Chicago too.
DC at home is such a weird thing.
Montreal haven't had the bye week. I'm at plus 920. The tie or CF Montreal is plus 100.
That's okay. I mean, that's fair. It's a 2 out of 3.
Yeah. So I'll take that all day, every day.
I think DC is going to win this, though, for the record. I personally would pick DC over Montreal for this specific matchup in this specific week.
Montreal have it in the bag, baby. They have one loss, and it's that BS loss against Chicago, bro.
About to be 2 losses. I don't know what to tell you.
They're going to be fine.
All right. Well,
the other 2 are locks, though. Toronto and Galaxy, we were on the same page. Locks.
Agree, which is why Toronto's going to somehow get a draw.
I don't want to talk about it.
But we're going to hit our other 2, and it's going to be a Toronto draw that screws both of us.
Oh, I've got a Columbus LAFC. I've got an LAFC LA Galaxy. I've got a Philadelphia Miami Atlanta. I've got a Toronto Portland Galaxy. Like, I've got a lot going on this week. I think there's a lot of good parlays you could put together this week.
There's a lot of interesting ones. I don't know about how many I would call like locked in, right?
No, yeah, there's obviously that risk.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot of interesting matchups. So I'll tell you this. I'm excited for it. I'll put some other ones in, but that's my 3 I'm locking in. So with that said, Gavin, I think you good to call it a night? Our longest recording that we've ever done in 2024.
Oh yeah, I am ready to call it night.
Are you stretching? Your old man bones are creaking. You're like, oh, I need to, oh. Yeah. I see it. You're stretching. You're get them all worked out. Gavin, if you want to be found on social media, where can you be found?
You can find me at LionsBlog1, my friend.
Excellent. And of course, you can find me on social media at Mr. Dangerous. You can find the podcast on social media at MLS Now Podcast. And most importantly, you can find all of our contributors. They're there on the website at mlsnowpodcast.com. They're also available on Twitter as well. We'll try and remember to put some podcast contributor corner handles in the episode description, just if you want to follow them as well, see what their takes are on their individual teams. Maybe you'll discover a love for a second team like Vancouver to myself, or, Gavin loves FC Cincinnati, and more power to him. He's chosen a good team. So
whatever.
With that, Gavin, listeners, till next time.
Till next time.